through storms, unshaken, unbowed. From trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it aloud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him, he's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules, a new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way. Say goodbye to all chains, embrace the new. A financial revolution, fair and true. For the workers, the dreamers, side by side. In Trump's new era, let freedom rise. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to ditch the rich. He's a fighter, a leader with a plan to share. A world of justice, well spread fair. Forget the old guards, the time is done. Under the banner of Trump, we all have won. So
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Kryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and thank you guys so much for joining me on this Monday. I hope everyone's having an excellent start to the week and had a great weekend. My weekend ended up being quite a long one, and I am particularly tired. And we'll jump into why. It's a pretty funny reason to not be getting any sleep, in all honesty. But let me say hellos first, and then I'll jump into that one. Judging by the thumbnail, you might have a little bit of a heads up that it was probably one of the cats that was the causation of that. But what's up, Mile High Trisha? Unfortunately, I had to be awake very, very early, so I have been up and at it since somewhere around I think I fell asleep for about an hour or two between like 2:30 and 4:30. So I've been up since about 4:35 this morning, and wasn't getting much sleep before that. So unfortunately, I am ready. I am ready to lay down and start hitting the snooze button. Well, good morning, D. Flynn. Good morning there, Franco. Welcome. Larry K4M, what's up with Brian Armstrong delisting XRP on Coinbase? Larry, I actually started trying to look that one up the second that I saw your comment in the chat as I was getting ready. And I am not seeing it. I'm seeing rumors and things over on X and the like, but unless it is extremely breaking news, I am not seeing that one. And so if I have missed that one, please let me know. Because apparently the only things that they had been talking about were in regards to the fact that XRP requires all of these separate wallets to set up. That's the only thing that I was seeing. That there's a potential rumor that Coinbase is demanding many millions of dollars from XRP, but I'll have to dig into that one. Maybe in my stupor this morning, I managed to miss it. But so that one's an interesting one, Larry. I could see where there might be some reasons because of, remember, destination addresses. Because of how XRP works, it requires that memo address and that destination address. It requires that because an XRP wallet needs enough XRP. It needs one XRP sitting in it. It used to be 10. sitting in it just to activate the wallet. When you're a centralized exchange and you have millions of users that are potentially holding XRP, that organizational structure to how a centralized exchange holds XRP is a huge pain in the butt. That's why you have to use destination addresses whenever you're sending XRP to a centralized exchange. So fun fact on that one, but that is one of the reasons. Same thing with XLM. It's why you need a memo address. You've got to have it because of how they operate. Franco, Zester, seen you were on the milk carton. Didn't know you were lost. I did. That was an awesomely done job over there on the milk carton. I thought that one was very funny. I need to jump in and get more and more answers on that front. Absolutely. But I had a lot of plans for the weekend that got a little thrown off. There was a lot I was planning on getting put together, but it's still going to happen. Good morning, Surfer. Good morning, Pocket. Hey, Charlene says, hey, sleepyhead. Hey there, Charlene. Howdy, Reno. Yes, always an important one, guys. Please do remember, content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes, not intended to provide financial advice. So do go out and consult a financial professional before making decisions. Thank you very much, Trish, for making certain I get it. Good morning, Crazy Chester. Good morning. It seems the planet is ready to move forward. Can kicking is an epidemic. I think everybody is beyond tired. The only folks that don't want things to change and don't want for this can to finally be picked up are the folks that are in power, that have all the power and all the influence of today. They don't want to lose it, but they are the micro percentage of the overall population, some 0.001 type deal. I'd say the rest, the 99%, we're ready to go. Howdy there, Anthony. Howdy. All right, though. All right, before we do jump in, I will let everyone know why I am so tired. Because little Miss Tina has got a urinary tract infection that I found out about on Saturday morning. She was acting funny Friday night. But really the only funny part was she seemed to be going to the litter box very often. But otherwise, she was completely normal and she's still acting completely normal. No, nothing is wrong, at least in terms of how she's acting, snuggling up, everything else. Well, Saturday morning, she keeps going to the box and she cannot pee. Cannot pee. And so I'm like, well, that is very, very, very bad. We're on a timeline here. So I then spend a few hours contacting every veterinarian on the island of Puerto Rico and finding out that if you have a sick animal on a Saturday or Sunday, prepare to be extorted. And so once I found the one and only veterinarian on the island in range of me that was willing to see Tina that day, ran on over there, and I must have been in that veterinarian for about 6 hours before finally getting Tina treated and everything. Did a scan. She got a full everything. More money gets spent on Tina healthcare, unfortunately, than on Zester healthcare. Absolutely. And so she got the full regiment. She got all the scans, all the everything. Urinary tract infection, which I was not aware cats could get. Makes complete sense that they can, but I've never had a cat have one. And during that process, they also said that the original vet that I went to, the original veterinarians that I went to, I should say, more than one, had drastically miscalculated Tina's age. And so now I know that Tina is probably more around 7 to 8 years old. She had lived on the streets for more like 4.5 years up to that point. And so she ended up getting all those treatments on Saturday. And I have spent the past 2 nights, I kid you not, staying awake, trying to watch to see if Tina will pee. And so if prayers could be given, I know they seem very, very silly in comparison to the human beings and everything else going on in the world, but I just need to see Tina pee. I know that sounds awful and so odd, but that is what I was staying awake for. I was worried about her, still am. she's acting completely fine. She acts like she's 100%. But she did get a very powerful antibiotic to fight that UTI. And so, yes, I spent the past 2 nights getting very limited sleep. And I'm pretty certain that she is waiting until I pass out from exhaustion to go pee. Because this morning, she's not even trying to use the bathroom. She's fine. She's running around the house. She's taking a nap right now on the bed. It's like there's nothing wrong with her. But I am not going to believe it until I'm not going to believe it until I see it. So Tina is very, very, very disturbed. She's very tired of me sitting there and staring at her every time she walks to the litter box. But that would be why I am so tired. It was quite an eventful and crazy weekend, but did get to do some great things. Had an awesome church service yesterday that I really enjoyed. Got this amazing book from a member of the congregation that she wrote that I got to read. Absolutely incredible story. I wanted to share it immediately with everyone, but I need to make certain to ask her permission before I go doing that. But so, with that out of the way, sleep is indeed for wimps, Pete Rose. It is indeed. Who needs it? Who needs it? I got a feeling that tonight I am probably going to crash awfully hard. But let's jump into all of the crypto news. I've got a lot that I've got to stay awake for and get done today later anyway. But of course, it's just going to be me sitting around and staring at a cat every time it walks towards a litter box. She very much has trolled me a time or two, because there has been more than one time that I have been sitting there watching Tina, and needless to say, she has no problems with number 2. My apologies for everyone who may be sitting there enjoying breakfast or lunch or the like. But I'll tell you, it was pretty funny in all honesty. So let's go ahead, though, and avoid that one. I'm certain she may come back over and say hello at some point during the stream, because she is acting as if there is absolutely nothing wrong. I'm the one that's all the worried, and it appears Tina is not worried in the slightest. But all right, let's jump into all of it. But yes, it has been, it was, Trish. It was. It doesn't seem funny at 3 a.m. when you're sitting there going, Tina, go to the bathroom. But it is funny taken out of context, and she seems to be perfectly fine. I have called many extra vets and continue to harass for more information, and all of them are just telling me if she's not acting like something is wrong after that medicine, she's going to be fine. Calm down. But if I had not been able to use the bathroom in a day or so, I would not be fine. I would not be fine. But the vets are very convinced that she is just making certain that it is some point in time when I'm not paying attention, because I've yet to see it. All right, though. Oh, Surfer, Zester, Rob Cunningham called into David Sindecker, his podcast Indoctrination. Awesome interview. Actually, Surfer, I was talking with Pops about that one over the weekend, and we were going through all of our business cards and everything that we had gotten from the different events and things, and we know we've got Rob's phone number. I'm pretty certain on my old phone, before I had issues with it, I had him saved in there. And so we are trying to get in touch with him in order to bring Rob Cunningham onto a show in order to chat. It would probably make for an amazing Wednesday to have Rob come join over on the original Mark Z. Pops gets to ask him questions. I get to ask him questions, and we get to do a crypto segment. Mary Jones sending healing prayers for Tina's urine release. Absolutely. I felt a little selfish with all of my prayers going towards that, but hey, that was the truth. That was one of my top priorities when it came to the prayer list. I'll send you a ring, Trish. I'll send you a ring remote so you can focus on the litter box and get some sleep. That would be much appreciated, especially after finding out what it costs to go to a vet on the weekend in Puerto Rico. I'm going to need extra time. I am definitely going to need extra sleep, extra time working, and going to be eating some ramen. Charlene sending healing energy for Tina. Thank you so much, Charlene and Mary Jones. Thank you guys so much for keeping her in the prayers. Nature Girl, you're going to be a great dad one day. Oh, thank you, Nature Girl. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be a stressed out one. I'm going to need a lot of gummies, apparently, on that journey, or a lot of something, because my kitty cat has managed to get me into quite the worry. But in all honesty, if she could just answer my question, if she's gone to the bathroom, this would all be solved. She could just tell me. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning. Reno, it seems you could award Ripple of $95 trillion contract and the coin would find a way to drop like a rock, unfortunately. Reno, I laugh, but I laugh instead of crying, because in all honesty, Ripple seems like it could get that good of news, and that would be the case. Oh yes, our fur babies are very important babies. Oh, Franco, I'm hounding him as well on that one. So I think we're gonna get to have that conversation with him soon. I think we will. All right, though, let's go ahead and get the screen shared over here, and get through. Well, we got a few little things to chat about. First of all, markets are down. They are definitely down. Instability in the Middle East, once again, being the scapegoat of all of the mainstream talking heads on the subject. Bitcoin sitting at $67,377 a pop. Ethereum's managing to hold over 2,000. There have been a lot of very, very large purchases of Ethereum that have occurred over the past few days. In particular, I believe one somewhere around 70,000 Ethereum being purchased by a corporation for their strategic reserve. That is one heck of a lot of money. And Ethereum, XRP, $1.34. It's, I guess it's really not. It's pretty much just following the market right now. It's not managing to hold better than the rest. It seems pretty universal. We'll go ahead and do our XLM checkup. And well, here seems to be one of the few somewhat brighter notes on the overall charts. 17 cents a pop for XLM, up 3.4%. I think it's starting to feel like a good time for XLM. I'm feeling it. But we have seen a few odd things. Here's one article before we jump into talking about the Clarity Act. And I know everybody's tired of hearing about the Clarity Act. I'm tired of reading about the Clarity Act. I'm tired of everything about the conversation with the Clarity Act. I wish that our legislators would just do what's in the best interest of the American people and leave all the politics and shenanigans and greed out of the conversation. But unfortunately, that is not the case. But we're going to jump over to this one first, and then we'll jump into stuff like that. And this is a very, very interesting one, because there's a lot of things that can be taught or learned from this article, because it raises some questions. Bitcoin hash rate posts first quarter drop for first time in 6 years as miners pivot to artificial intelligence. The first quarter decline breaks a long-standing growth trend, but could ultimately support decentralization as public U.S. miners face looming dominance. All right. And so this is a very, very small drop. Bitcoin's hash rate is down around 4% this year. The first quarter decline since 2020, following 5 consecutive years of double-digit growth. This comes at the same time where crypto mining companies in the United States have seen massive, massive drops in their stock value over the past weeks and months. And what does this mean? I think is really the most important thing, because for someone who is just looking at this and really isn't certain what hash rate means, or what miners are busy doing, this may either seem like not important, or may seem far, far more important than it actually is. What hash rate is effectively the computing power of the machines. In this case, it's proof of work. These would be like ASIC Bitcoin miners. Hash rate is the amount of power, the amount of processing that is being put out in order to solve blocks on the Bitcoin blockchain in total. And so it's a combination of that dude you know next door who runs a Bitcoin miner in his basement, and also those guys who have massive facilities built in dams where they're using hydroelectric power to mine tons and tons more machines using tons more power and energy than that guy down the road who has one in his basement. The hash rate is the combination of all of that. That's where the statistic is being derived from. The computing power of the entire ecosystem. And it's dropping. Now, that would indicate that because of the current price of Bitcoin, and because of other opportunities, that's why the article points out artificial intelligence, that these companies or these miners are instead taking that computing power, that hash rate, and they are deploying it, and they are being paid to deploy it in order to provide infrastructure for artificial intelligence companies. And this is a simple logic. At this point in time, they believe it's more valuable, better use of their energy to be spending it over there. This is something that raises concerns in folks occasionally in crypto because, if the miners are leaving, does that make Bitcoin weaker? Does that mean that the network's going to be slower? A lot of different little things come in, or questions are kind of assumed on that. And, well, that's not the worry. And so, with this occurring, it means that it is going to require less hash power to solve a block. The Bitcoin blockchain is going to adapt to the amount of hash rate that it's being provided, and it's not going to have any issues verifying transactions, sending Bitcoin, mining, doing anything. It will not affect it because the blockchain is designed to adapt to the amount of power or the amount of hash rate it is receiving. More hash rate that the Bitcoin blockchain is seeing, the more difficult it is to be rewarded a whole block and all of the Bitcoin that comes with it. So that does not mean that anything this is not terrible news. I mean, it's important news and it's something to keep in mind and be aware of. But when it comes down to it, this is not going to have any effect on the Bitcoin blockchain. And I thought it was a great story to kind of bring up that little tidbit about how that works, because this is something that can be very confusing at first read. But when you understand what the blockchain is actually doing, it's far less concerning. It's just going to adapt to the amount that it's receiving. And so no needs for worries on that front. Good morning there. Good morning there, Kukla. Good morning. Oh, I just saw somebody's name pop in and then pop right back out. I missed it. I'll make certain that I catch it. No, good morning, Kukla. Let's see what questions we've got. This is one that I really just kind of started with this one as a short little intro to the rest of the articles for today, because of that fact that it does bring a very easy little point to kind of explain something about how it works. All right. You can, Starlene, you hire an animal communicator for Tina. If I pay $200 to $500 for somebody to come and sit in the apartment and meow at my cat and interpret the meows back, that sounds like it would be top level. That would be top level comedy or skits right there. All right. Mile High Trish, questions from Voices of Freedom that has been asked a couple of times. Coinbase has posted oil reserve on Coinbase in the United States. What does this mean? I am so glad that you asked that one. And a matter of fact, let's actually look it up, because I believe it was like a strategic oil reserve Coinbase, something like that. And I want people to know this throws people off very, very often. What Coinbase is doing here is they are just doing the same thing as what CoinGecko is doing. And so this little part of Coinbase is actually it can be a little confusing, because what Coinbase is doing right here is they're just providing you with a crypto token tracker. You can look up different cryptocurrencies that are on the various blockchains. But as you'll see right here, this is not tradable on Coinbase. Data is sourced from third parties. And so in this situation, this does not mean that it is listed on Coinbase or that Coinbase plans on listing it. There are thousands and thousands of little projects that are tracked by Coinbase, and they keep up to date on them, and they see what's going on, and they're just plugged in to the blockchain API. But you'll notice on this one that they don't even have the market cap, circulating supply. They have very little of the information. All they essentially know is the network address and a little bit about price history. Now, is this the right one, though, Mile High Trish, or did I pop into the wrong one? It is very helpful, though, having these things on Coinbase, but I've noticed that quite a few times folks have gotten a little confused because it makes it look like you're sitting here and you're like, oh, this is on Coinbase. But when you actually click on it, what it's actually doing is it's just tracking it on Coinbase. So yeah, we got another U.S. oil reserve on Coinbase.com. And once again, we've got the same thing going on here. U.S. oil reserve, not tradable on Coinbase. Yep. Oil reserve. U.S. oil reserve. And see, look, there are tons of these. Whenever you see tons of things like this popping up, be very concerned because people are trying to take advantage of the fact that there's a lot of clout. There's a lot of SEO helping out. And so they'll put out more and more tokens with similar names, trying to take advantage of that, trying to confuse people into buying theirs. And so I will have to keep looking, make certain that I'm looking at the right one. But when I had seen that photo over in Voices of Freedom, when my first take of it was that it was in this category. It's being tracked by Coinbase, but it's not on Coinbase, if that makes sense. A great example is like this. Tons of things are on CoinGecko. You know, CoinGecko will literally, let's go down here. So there are 165, there are 100 cryptocurrencies per page. Let's click on page 165. And so that means we are 100 times 100, plus 65 times 100. I mean, they're tracking a lot. And so these are little tiny projects that don't have anything going on, stuff of that nature. But all right, let's go back. Let's see if we got any more good ones. That was a great question, though. I'm glad that you asked that one, Trish, because that can be very, very confusing. Epicenter, Deborah, it feels like public theater, so the powers that be can accumulate. I strongly feel like that is what's been going on now for many, many years, is that they know where things are going. They know what's going to happen, but they're also the people who right now in the current system have the ability to slow it down and to spend and utilize their immense amount of wealth, power, and connections to do so. And that's what I believe they're doing. They're doing nothing more than delaying and delaying and delaying so that they can be in a better and better position. All right. Pete Rose, can you give us a one-sentence explanation of what the Clarity Act is and a one-sentence explanation of what the Genius Act is? All right, Pete. The Crypto Clarity Act establishes the regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, blockchain, digital assets in the United States of America. That would be your one sentence. It is the framework. It is the guardrails, the road. It's the foundation. That is what it provides for digital assets on the whole in the United States, from Bitcoin to Tether to XRP to XLM. What are the rules? That's the Clarity Act. The Genius Act, Pete, is specifically targeted at stablecoins. And so that would be USDT, Pax Gold. There's going to be many, many more iterations of stablecoins in the future. But so your one sentence on the Genius Act is that it did for stablecoins what the Clarity Act is doing for the overall market. It provided the framework and regulatory bodies necessary for stable coins to be operated in the United States. I hope that those helped, Pete. I am particularly notorious for over elaborating on some of those things. Yeah. Frank, the Clarity Act is the highway. It's the highway and the speed limit signs and the stop signs and the yield and all of that. It's how are we all planning on doing this? Yeah, that would be a great way of looking at it. That would be a great way of looking at it, though, Franco. Do you know who Joby Weeks is? That name sounds very familiar, but D. Flynn, not off the top of my head. But it sounds very, very familiar. Indeed. All right. Okay. An oil reserve. So yes. Yeah, no, I'm glad then. I'm glad. So yeah, I would, guys, be very careful when you see things like these. I know why you were seeing this. It's because with the beginning of the Iran conflict and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, meme coins popped up that went from very low market caps, and they all talked about U.S. strategic oil reserves. And it's because at that point in time, it's what the whole world's talking about. Whole world's talking about, Lord, look at what is needed to fill my gas tank. And when that happens, when people are all focused on something, meme coins pop up and they go from little tiny market caps to hundreds of millions of dollar market caps in a matter of 24 hours, because that is what's dominating the internet. And there are a lot of gamblers on the internet. And so another example of that would be, remember Peanut. Remember when, this would be years ago now, but remember when the police officers and the animal folks went and put down poor Peanut, the famous squirrel, and his buddy Fred the raccoon? Well, when that happened, immediately people spawned cryptocurrency meme coins because the whole internet was dominated by this story. Same thing happens with something like the oil reserve. And so that is what resulted in these meme coins exploding. And that spawns all of these other copycats. And so, like, I remember I use Peanut as an example because it's when something takes over the internet, these meme coins tend to spawn out of that. It's a community reaction. It's quite odd. But yes, and so that's what happened with Peanut. Peanut went from, you put like $10 into Peanut one day, and the next day your $10 was worth like $50,000. And then the next day it was worth $1 million. And so it printed overnight millionaires for folks that held on to those tokens and then chose to actually sell them when it started to hit those high prices. But all of these different ones like that, when they're those very short-term meme coins, they're based off of a singular event, they tend to have a very, very short fuse. They are going to go up like a rocket, and then that rocket is going to run out of fuel, and it is going to accelerate at terminal velocity before too long as it plummets back to Earth, unfortunately. All right. Pete Rose, then stablecoins are backed by gold. Not necessarily, Pete. And so that was what the Genius Act was so important for, because we've got a lot of different types of stablecoins. So USDT, let's go over. I always like to bring these up whenever talking about them. USDT here is a dollar-backed stablecoin. So one tether is worth, and this fluctuates right up and down, but right now it is worth 0.9993. And so it is designed to sit essentially right at $1. And so when you stretch it out over time, we do have all this craziness that happened way back here, but that's a whole other story to jump into. But otherwise, the Genius Act established the framework of how is this supposed to work. So for a stable coin like Tether, they have to have U.S. Treasury bonds, real world assets, sitting inside of a bank vault in order to back up the amount of tokens in circulation. So use this as an example right here. Tether has got to have, they've got 184,222,000,000 Tether in circulation, Tether at all times has got to have $184,222,000,000. If they do not have that money, then they are breaking the law. If they have that money, then the stablecoin is fully backed and there's nothing to worry about. Would be the essential logic. And so, Pete, in the case of USDT here, it would actually be dollars. But now let's go and show you one that's gold. And so my favorite of those right now to always reference would be Pax Gold. And so let's come on over here. Pax Gold is a whole different ballgame because there are 514,128 Pax Gold tokens in existence, in circulation. Now, what does that mean? That means that sitting in a bank vault are 514,128 ounces of gold, verified physical ounces of gold. In the case of Pax Gold itself, those gold ounces are held in London. They are held in banks in London. They are verified by third-party assessors. And so people come and count the ounces on a regular basis. And the reason they do that is to make certain that these numbers add up, that the number right here, 514,128, that there's exactly that many gold ounces sitting in the bank vault in order to back this up. And so that is what the Genius Act really put into place. How do we do this? And who regulates it? It said, okay, you're a dollar stablecoin. You're backed by dollars. Okay, what is a legal, what counts? And so they said treasury bonds count. Of course, the U.S. government's going to say they count. Liquid dollars count. Other things like gold count. And so Tether actually purchases about $1 billion of gold a month. Straight bullion. $1 billion a month. It's what Tether actually buys. And they have started backing more and more and more of that Tether, US dollar Tether, with actual gold. And so I think that probably made things a little bit more confusing and brought up even more questions. But I hope that helped, Pete, because stablecoins are really going to be what the vast majority of us are interacting with on a daily basis in the future. They're probably the most important crypto for people to understand because they're what you're going to use most. You're not going to use cryptocurrencies that are volatile when we're making purchases because Walmart doesn't want that flame. Walmart wants exactly what they charged you. They said it was $10. They want $10, not $9.94 because the market turned down a little bit. And so they're going to prioritize stablecoins. Most all retailers are going to prioritize stablecoins. It's going to be what you use to pay on things on a regular basis. Now, your stablecoin will be backed by gold or backed by dollars or backed by all kinds of different real world assets, but that will be capable. You'll be able of going and saying, hey, I'm going to pay my mortgage this month and I'm going to pay it in Pax Gold, which is a gold stablecoin. It's pegged to one real world gold ounce. And the blockchain is what allows us to make that real. Paper gold and paper silver are possible because there is no public accounting. There is no transparency and there is no way to simply and effectively move that gold around the planet. Whereas now with something like Pax Gold, well, look at what's going to happen when we've got vaults in the United States. We've got vaults all over the world. I'm going to be able to make a purchase in gold. I'm going to be able to go, hey, I want to buy Crazy Cryptonaut shirts and they're made in Japan. I'm going to be able to go on there and order Crazy Cryptonaut shirts that are made in Japan from a company in Japan. I will be able to pay in gold. They will immediately receive their gold and I will then be sent my t-shirts. They can then go and they could actually go and claim that physical gold ounce themselves, or vice versa. I could. You can always, and there will always be with certain companies, the ability to redeem your physical gold back. And so that's That's why I always talk about the fundamental change to precious metals. This is a fundamental change to their value. They are no longer the same value because they are no longer constrained by the same limitations. Gold has always been illiquid. It's been difficult to transact in, always. The only way that it essentially worked was through the utilization of something like the central banks that we saw prior to the Federal Reserve and et cetera in the United States. And even that, as we know, was flawed. That's why we don't have it anymore because, well, politicians politicianed and screwed it up. They stole it from us. That's why, as we make this move over and we start to see real world assets tokenized, it is not about gold revaluing. Gold's not revaluing in the sense of revaluation that we think. The actual fundamental value of gold is changing. It is like going and saying, hey, my Toyota Prius is going from a Toyota Prius to, I don't know, what's the fanciest, most expensive car you can imagine. It's no longer what's the value of a Toyota Prius. It is an entirely new thing. Oh, happy belated birthday, musical lady. Happy. Jumping in late, says musical lady, a bit sleep deprived too, since it was my birthday this past Saturday. Being out on the town. Oh, well, I hope you had a good time and got into lots and lots of safe trouble for your festivities, and super glad to have you here with us. Absolutely. Oh yeah, Epicenter, Deborah. Yeah, BNB meme tokens, frog, tiger, pick your animal. Exactly. And they take on a flavor of the week sometimes, and that was what the strategic reserve was. It was the flavor of the week, and it was launched because people knew that putting money into it was a gamble that is either going to result in you not having any money or you having a lot more than what you had. But it's gambling, flat out gambling. For those that do like to jump into things like that, though, I have messed with meme coins. It is fun to mess around with meme tokens. You just need to remember what you're doing. You're gambling. Keep that thing down to 1% of your overall portfolio type deal. Not financial advice, of course. But yes, remember what you're doing and the position you would put it in. Think of it in the same way as you would going to Vegas. I hope you're not going to go clear out the savings account on your way to Vegas. You're going to go, I've got about $400 I could lose and everything would be okay. That's how you should view those different ones. And it can be fun. It's exhilarating. But that's one where 99% of everyone is going to lose. Yep, Frank, it's all interesting to me. This is all about positioning, putting yourself in place for success, either with currency and crypto. It's all going at the same time. I do think it's a lot. And a lot of the positioning, Frank, in my opinion, is not a matter of purchasing a lot of things. It's a matter of being knowledgeable about what's coming. Because once we're in the thick of all of it, and there's not going to be time. You're not going to have time to go, hey, I need to go take a college level course on learning how this currency works, or learning how this exchange works, or learning on how I'm supposed to manage this. I think that that's really one of the things that often is missed. A lot of folks think it needs to be all of this money that's put into all these things. And I really don't think that's the case. Especially when you look at a lot of the currencies, a little goes a long, long way. And so I'm far more interested in spending time about how thinking through and not being knowledgeable about how I'm going to manage those funds than I really am with adding to them, if that makes sense. I don't need to be the wealthiest guy on the planet. I just need to be, I need to have the, what people often would call, and I'll freak you money, effing money. A person who has enough to where it just doesn't matter what other people think or say. That's what I want. If I've got that, I just want to be really good at managing it. But I think you're totally right, Frank. It's all a matter of positioning and being ready. All right. Oh wow, Reno Hightower. How long has the Clarity Act / Genius Act been slugging along like a flipping snail? Oh, great news, Reno. Genius Act passed last year, no problem. It flew through. In all honesty, far faster than anyone expected. On the Clarity Act, another surprise. It's very surprising when you look at it now. It passed the House with bipartisan, resounding support back in June or July of last year. Resounding support in the House of Representatives on a bipartisan level. I believe there was only somewhere around like 100 and some Democrats that actually opposed it. And all of them, their entire reasoning for why they opposed the Clarity Act passing the House of Representatives was Orange Man bad. They didn't have a better argument than that. They just said Orange Man bad. Orange Man has crypto. No like crypto, no like Orange Man. And sadly, there was no more logic to that. They made it very obvious as they voted. But since then, Reno, yes, we have been at a snail crawl since June or July of 2025. And we didn't get a lot of explanation about why for a while. Now we know that it was because the banking lobby and a bunch of different senators and the Democratic Party were waging a very serious game of mutually assured destruction, arguing that if the Clarity Act passed without major provisions placing the banks, that $6.6 trillion would immediately flow out of the U.S. banking system, and we'd have Great Depression 2.0 plus. And that was what they'd been arguing about. Now they're continuing to argue over that exact same conversation, just in a variety of different ways. DeFi, stablecoin yield provisions, crypto needs to not look like a bank, things of that nature. And so, Reno, we've gotten indications from a lot of folks that this is not as stuck as it appears. We do know that the compromise came out just last week, which does bring us a lot closer. Does it mean that crypto got everything we wanted? No, we talked about that one. We did not get everything we wanted, but we got some stuff. And we do now have at least a path forward. Crypto is desperate enough for the Clarity Act that it's willing to take some pretty suboptimal negotiating standpoints because we need the roads. If the crypto industry is auto manufacturers, to use the metaphor of the highways and the interstate system, well, then the crypto companies are sitting there manufacturing cars like mad, all preparing for this future highway to drive them on. And that's the Clarity Act. And so a lot of crypto companies now are going, hey, we just need to get our cars on the road. We're willing to take bad deals. We just need to get our cars on the road. Put up the yield signs, put up the stop signs, put up the speed limits, let us go. We'll figure out the rest of these things in the future once our cars are driving on the road. And I think that metaphor, oddly, is making my brain really happy. That seems like a pretty easy way of kind of digesting it. All right. Yeah. Musical Lady, I'm too practical getting into meme coins. Maybe once the RV. Yeah, and then Musical Lady, that's kind of what I thought I would feel a lot better about having funny money. But I don't know. Am I going to have time at that point? Maybe. But yeah, I do think that, that percentage that I'm willing to be risky with is definitely going to be a heck of a lot higher at that point than it is now. Now, after Tina at the vet, I got, if I'm breaking it down to a small percentage, I'm putting about $4, maybe $3.50 down on one of those meme coins and calling that big spending. Yeah, exactly. Why waste good money? Sometimes it is one of those things, though, where it's don't hate the player, hate the game. There are some times where I've seen a meme coin and I've gone, oh, wow, I need to buy some. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I know people are going to buy it and the price is going to go up. All right. Exactly. I work too hard to swindle my money, hard-earned money away. Absolutely. I have to wait for all the masks to come off in Congress. That's going to be a scary sight, though. Frank, that sounds like a horror movie. Government unmasked. coming to theaters December 2026. That's scarier than It, the Clown, and etc. Reno, it's time for honesty, it seems. We need more of it, Reno. We need more of it. And that's why when we had Trump's comment now going on about a month ago, actually at this point, in late February, where he came out and he called the banks out. He's told the American people, he told the world what the Crypto Clarity Act problem was, and it's that the banks cannot exist without our money. If they're not allowed to collect the interest, if they're not allowed to earn the money that is rightfully ours, then they will go bankrupt. And that's what Trump called them out for. And we need more of that. We need that conversation to be had without obfuscation and without it being this Wizard of Oz, rip back the curtain type deal. We need to make reasonable, logical decisions. And the only way to do that is to have the facts. We have the facts, we can make good decisions about what needs to be done and where we politically stand, ideologically stand. And that is, it's very frustrating, Reno. It's very, very frustrating. We are so often treated like children by our government. And I mean that in every form and fashion. We are treated like children when it comes to the banking system, with our own money, with our politics, with the information we're allowed to receive. And it is extremely, extremely frustrating. And it means that we make bad decisions because of the fact that they have obfuscated so much around the Clarity Act. It is important to understand that $6.6 trillion is going to leave the U.S. banking system. There are repercussions to that. People will suffer on account of that. And so if we don't know that, then we will blindly sit there going, rah, 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 crypto, take it all, rah, rah, rah. When in all honesty, we should be going, hey, crypto is where it all needs to go, but let's figure out how to do this safely so that we're not all figuring out how all of our family members who are heavily invested in the wrong sectors and whose future are dependent upon the old system, so that we're not blowing up air mattresses all around the house because, half the family and half the loved family friends are all coming to try and crash on the couch. It is important, and it is things that we need to know and need to be conscious of in order to make educated decisions. And we can't do that unless they'll tell us the truth. And the problem is, I don't even know if many people in the United States are capable of the truth. I think we've seen that quite evidently with everything in the Epstein files. I know there have been some days when I looked at it and I did my deep dives and everything else, and I started to question that whole how much do we need type deal. But when it comes down to it, we do need it. All right. Frank Zester, what are your thoughts about the second? I'm always afraid of dates. I'm terrified of dates nowadays. That's not for any one part of anything. That's for everything. Okay, the Clarity Act. Trump said that the deadline for our compromise was March 1st. Well, we got the compromise March 23rd. Hello, Miss Sweetie. Come say hello. My little pea demon decided to come say hello. Yes, Miss Tina. And so this kitty cat acts like there is just nothing wrong in the world while she continues to drive me absolutely insane. Yes, Miss Sweetie. Oh, you've been drinking water, haven't you? Yeah, and she's sitting there slapping up water all the time. Where's it going? Where's it going? Miss Tina, where? And why are you absolutely fine? Yeah, the vet said everything else. You don't understand. You don't understand. But no, she is actually doing pretty darn well, all things considered. Quite loving and happy. And while I'm all concerned, she doesn't seem to be concerned in the slightest. She's just wondering why she's not getting more pets right now. And so if anyone has any thoughts on that or has any extra levels of kitty cat urinary knowledge, please do hit me up and help me out so that I can sleep a little bit more. All right. Which one did I miss that, though? Miss Tina, I'm glad you came out to say hello. I'm very, very glad. Robbie, while frustrated the Clarity Act is taking so long, you won't ever find a better time to load up. It's now or never for new crypto investors. Robbie, I do think that we're probably at one of those. I don't think I shouldn't say that. We're talking about a market, a sector that we're just at the beginning of. Ultimately, I have no doubt that there will be people who become, who plan on retirements and spend money and invest for decades going into the future into crypto in order to achieve that retirement. But I do think, Robbie, that a lot of the prices that we're seeing, especially on certain cryptocurrencies, these are going to be very hard prices to get back to. If we see these types of prices again in the future, they're going to be those flash crash type things. They're going to be those, out of nowhere. And those are really not realistic. A great example of that was back during COVID, when we saw the Bitcoin crash during the COVID, the COVID shenanigans and all of that, where we saw Bitcoin just absolutely plummet on account of it. I mean, we saw $5,000, out of nowhere, right overnight. I think we saw lower levels throughout the entire flash crashes and all of that. We saw very, very low numbers, and immediately we popped back above them, and we've never gotten close to them again. So there's still going to be situations, Robbie, where people can get in on cryptos in very, very good positions in the future. And I don't think it's impossible for prices to be back at certain levels. We could see that happen. But I do believe that we are going to go through some of the last times of trading sideways at some of these price points, unless something fundamentally changes. It's always a possibility, especially with the corporate-led blockchains. Corporate-led blockchains are always going to have the ability to change the game in a very dramatic way by changing how they choose to handle the tokenomics structure and things of that nature. Yeah. Yeah. Dave Levang. The problem is trying to figure out what money is and what it's worth in purchase power. Absolutely. It's become such a confusing subject because we denominate it in US dollars, and we denominate value in a currency that has no value. And so we look at it and we say that gold's value is down right now. That's not true. One gold ounce is worth one gold ounce. It's always going to be worth one gold ounce. That is what gold is worth. One gold ounce is worth one gold ounce. One silver ounce is worth one silver ounce. What changes is the currency you're purchasing it in. The value of your dollar changed, not the value of the gold. The value of the gold is intrinsic. It's fundamental. But the value of your dollar is not, unfortunately. Yeah, musically, I agree. Congress treats us unfairly, treats us as children. Is spot on. And we're not even smart kids to them. They don't even treat us like kids that are in an honors level course. They treat us, they treat us like the slowest of the slow kids when it comes down to it. All right. Shirley, what is the minimum XRP and XLM we should know? Well, Shirley, when it comes down to that one, I don't like to place arbitrary numbers on it because I strongly believe that those numbers are different for all of us and our goals. Depending on what your goal is and what your resources are at this point in time drastically changes what I would say people should be looking at. And so, Shirley, I do like to kind of break things down in an easy way. For me, one thing that's always important is balance. I have gone through periods where I have gotten very unbalanced. I've placed too many eggs in one basket. And so surely that's always a consideration. Where's the gold and silver? What's the currency looking like? Do you have Bitcoin? Do you have Ethereum? But I do particularly like, Shirley, breaking it down into kind of simple numbers. I know for me, when I started with XRP, I was looking at it in 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And that was how I was dictating the amount that I essentially needed to get to. The professional long-term experienced folks that have been, trading different markets, trading assets and currency markets across the planet for decades and decades, they would say that that answer, in all honesty, should be based far more off of the percentage of your portfolio and your overall risk tolerance. So, Shirley, I would say remember always to start slow. You don't need more than 10 to start learning, Shirley. You don't need more than 10 XRP, and you are off to the races, learning how to do everything necessary in the crypto space. And then you build. Once you're comfortable and you've gotten a solid foundation of understanding, the sky becomes the genuine limit. So what you're capable of doing and what is safe for you to be doing. Every time somebody asks, I'm getting into crypto, what should I do first? Or I'm going into a new token, what should I do first? You dip your toe in and you check the water. And so you don't need more than $10. You can do everything with that. Sending $1 million transaction is the exact same process as sending a $10 transaction. So highly recommend starting slow. Dave Levang, what is your take on XCN, AXL, and Flare? Well, Flare is a very interesting one because of their side chains that they have provided. They've managed to lock up a lot of value on account of that, including a lot of their tokenized XRP offerings. And so that's always been interesting to me, Dave. Flare has always been interesting. XCN, it's been a while since I have been digging into XCN. I know a lot of folks in the community have always talked on that one because of its ISO classification at that point in time. And so Onyx Coin, XCN, sitting at 169th place in the overall crypto markets, sitting at half a penny, or right above half a penny as of exactly now, and $191 million market capitalization. XCN, I would have to say, Dave, I need to do an update on my research. It has been months since the last time that I went through and checked up on what Onyx was up to. And so I will absolutely need to look into that one. Absolutely. I think I went through a whole ordeal with XCN back in the day, trying to figure out how to get it onto a Ledger hardware wallet. And I think at that point in time that it wasn't even possible. But I may be mixing that one up. I went through a lot of those different cryptos back at that point in time. And XTC still gives me nightmares. I still think back to that one every once in a while. And I go, I cannot believe that people figured out how to get that done without watching, my videos and me, going through and doing so much research. I don't know how people were supposed to figure that out. That stuff didn't make a lick of sense. I'll have to do some deep diving though, Dave. I'll put that one on the list. I've got it pulled up here. I'll see if I can't learn a little bit more. All right. But yes, time check. We are over an hour, guys. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. RV Flyer just learned about the advanced features on Kraken and Coinbase. Limit maker orders. Zester, please help out all your viewers with that. RV Flyer, that'd be a great idea. I did that one way back. Way back with a Coinbase tutorial. But RV Flyer, the Coinbase website and page has changed so much since then. I absolutely need to do one because I very rarely do anything but limit orders. Limit orders, in my opinion, are really the go-to. Market orders, that's how you end up suffering some market book loss. You end up, depending upon the liquidity in the market. But absolutely, RV Flyer, we should do one of those. That would probably be a great Friday. That would probably be a great Friday stream, in all honesty, for this week, would be to go through on, and really on any of them, but maybe go through a few of them real quick. The process is pretty much once you've learned how to do it on one exchange. So like if you know how to do it on Gemini, or you know how to do it on Coinbase, you could pop open any other exchange that has advanced trading features and be able to do it. But that would be a good one, RV Flyer. I'm going to be on that one. Plus, it's always fun. We get to spend money. We get to do stuff. swap cryptos around. It's always a good time. Server vents are controlled like our medical system. You're doing the mushroom kitty sauce. Another great product is enzymes.com. Call them for the Tina issues. Absolutely. It's a surfer. It is a joke, especially down here on the island. I think that y'all, I don't know if it's insane, but in order to get her antibiotic shot and the scan, it ended up costing me over $450 on Saturday for little Miss Tina. That was what it ended up costing me in order to get her seen and get her treated. And that to me is criminal. Criminal. What if I didn't have the money? Like, and even then, it had to go on a card because no part of me was ready for that out of nowhere. That's a whole new set of tires. That's rent. And that was what was necessary in order to get a vet who just knew they had me by the huevos, because who else was I going to go to? What else was I going to do? Literally they're willing, veterinarians and doctors are willing to sit there and look at you and go, how much do you want to live? And that is honestly what they do. And that's how I felt. They were looking at Tina. They were like, how badly do you want this cat? Or are you willing to have another one? It's criminal. Absolutely criminal. And of course, the sad thing is that that what's going on in the vets is it's also going on for human beings. Yeah, I think so. Part of the cabal control system. Absolutely. They know how much. They know that, kitty cats, they are members of the family. Miss Tina, what are you trying to get on the desk for? No. It's the one place you're not allowed to be. It's the one place. But, all right, guys. And yes, Charlene, she is worth every penny and more pennies. She absolutely is. Absolutely is. Uh-huh. No, I didn't question it. I did not question it in the moment, but I know after I felt it. All right, though, guys. I'm going to get out of here. We are well over an hour. Thank you so much to everyone for joining me. I am looking forward to Wednesday over on the original Mark Z doing the crypto segment. Maybe we'll have Andy Scheckman this week. He doesn't normally miss more than 1 week in a row. So I will see you guys over there on the original Mark Z channel on Wednesday. Love you all. See you soon.